All right, we are ready. We are on.
We are on.
Yeah, on. Right. back. We are back. So, how are you guys after yesterday? Any insights? Any revelations?
Well, I think we have a more important matter to deal with, don't we, Elian? Elian? She's gone.
Are you talking to somebody?
Yeah, we were in the middle of discussing something.
It's for later.
Yeah, I think Elian's going to do talk about it later.
Okay.
All
I
right.
don't think she's on yet.
I'm here now. Sorry. Amy, are you in the tropics today?
I am. I decided I had to get away from everything. So
Wow.
I'm relaxing on the beach.
Melanie's in San Francisco next to the Golden Gate Bridge.
Emmy, where are you? Where is that beach? Is it Hawaii?
Tahiti.
Oh, Haiti. That's really cool. All right.
Mexico. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cheers. Cheers.
All right. Awesome. Oh, wow. That was interesting. All right. Let's go to the our virtue. So who would like to read something about that virtue? I understand. Let's start with somebody. Do you remember the virtue that we work on?
I don't have controlling yourself is beautiful, controlling others is obscene, helping someone to control themselves. Can you read the exact one?
Controlling yourself is attractive. Controlling others is repulsive. Helping others to control themselves is magical. So why? Guys, why is it magical? What happens?
Well, it's really interesting to try to think of how to help someone control themselves without controlling them.
Right, yeah, so it is interesting, right? So I would like to hear what you think about that. Give me some examples. Okay, you are a professor in college and you teach math. And there has to be some kind of progress and exams and so on. So how would you create self-control? What would you do?
I would probably teach the student how to study and how to focus on the task at hand so that they could learn the problem and execute the question.
Well, if they have to really control themselves, that has to come from them, right? So you really cannot teach them.
I think you have to ask the student what their goal is in being there.
Well,
I would also assume that if you're in a classroom, the student has already essentially given permission for you to give him input, whereas outside of a classroom, you might have unsolicited advice.
well, so, okay. So outside, there is something happening outside, and they have to have homework and they have to have exam. Usually the exam is set at the end and students procrastinate, almost all of them. And at the end, they study for 2 days and then they pass the exam, right? So it's kind of like they control with that exam at the end. And so what would you do if you wanted them to control themselves? What would you do?
Jersey, I have an idea. Can you hear me okay?
Yes?
Okay, so my idea is that you do the first test without any input on self-control. And then the second test, you say, all right, we're going to do an experiment and you are going to arrange to study in groups by yourself after school. And then you compare the results of the first test with the second test so that they see from what they did on their own that controlling their behavior.
So in a way, you give them responsibility, right?
Yes.
So if they get full responsibility over what they do, they have a chance to achieve self-control on their own. But they have to completely be on their own. So if you, the research points that if students are given no time for whatever they need to do to the end of the year, they need to finish certain work, and there is no really time when they are given really full responsibility for it, and whatever happens, happens. If it doesn't happen, doesn't happen. So the research points that most of them take really charge and set up small goals, and they work on their own schedule. And it's a lot better than with the set up goals and when. So when, that is just an exam, right? And then, the end. So is it when we teach people, is it the different when we teach them something physical and when we teach something mental? What's the difference here?
Well, it's harder to demonstrate something mental. I could teach something physical by showing you how to do a push-up, how to run around the track, but to teach something mental takes a little more imagination.
Right. So what if you give somebody, if you tell somebody that 2 + 2 is 4, right? Instead of creating possibility that the person gets on his own, right? Because you can tell the person that 2 + 2 is 4. And the person knows, remembers it, and it's in the memory. Well, what the difference is when you actually work on the person and create this ways so the person actually arrives to the answer on his own. What was the difference?
Well, the answer.
Well, you said master one, master of all, right? So if you teach the concept instead of just memorizing a fact, then they can apply that concept in other related areas.
What else?
It increases their confidence.
Yeah, why?
Because they own it. They've processed it differently, and it's something they can, for example, of the 2+2, you give the kids 2 cookies and you want 1 more. How many cookies have you got? They really feel it, they understand it, and they own that. And then it never goes away. Whereas 2+2 is just, you just have to have a belief system, say, yes, okay, somebody's told me this, but to apply it in real life makes it more real.
Yeah, but both are true, right? That 2+2 is 4. Whether
Yes.
you get the knowledge by somebody telling you, right? Or you arrive at that knowledge on your own.
Yeah, so it boosts your confidence, your self-esteem, because you've done it yourself.
Yes. So when you arrive on your own, something big happens, right? What happens?
Mm.
Or you've internalized it and then you can reteach it.
Yes, it's really you arrive on your own. It's your knowledge. You're 100% really having credit for it. The teacher cannot have a credit. The teacher taught you. You arrive on your own.
Mhm.
Right? It's very powerful. So that kind of a teaching is very, very powerful. So so instead of telling somebody, you have to wait until the person gets it, and you have to create the ways to the person that the person really arrives at the concepts or ideas or to the answers.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's really hard and it takes time. So with the physical, so you can really tell the person 2+2 is 4, right? So what happens with the happy body, let's say? How different it is?
Well, you're facilitating our ability to internalize what we're doing and what your goals are. And through our work with that and your guidance, we're able to internalize it ourselves. So we have it ourselves, which I would hope in terms of planning for succession, that's something that you have in mind.
Yes, I thought about the physical work, like practice that happens with the happy body, because there is a mental and the physical practice.
Well, that's true, yeah.
Yeah, I want to see the difference here. What is the difference really in teaching something physical and teaching something mental?
I think you have to, when you're teaching something physical, you have to take into mind the starting point for everyone.
Physical.
Yeah, physically.
And then what happens when it's physical?
Well, when it's physical, then you need to, if you're teaching someone something, you have to see where they are.
So
Also,
you have to do it, right?
oh, you have to do it yourself. I mean, I think that's with any form of teaching is you have to see yourself not as a teacher, but as a mentor.
Mhm.
You have to be the example to to whoever you are sharing the knowledge with, whether it's maths or piano or the happy body.
So no matter what, physical is something that, in order to happen, it's always yours.
Yes, it's always there. And
Right? It cannot be somebody's. Right? Even though somebody is showing you how to swim, it's still swimming is yours.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah, it's something that's completely experiential. It's not like, learning about the American Civil War. You don't have to go down and fight the South. to experience to know about the Civil War. But if you want to know about something physical, you literally have to do it.
Yeah, but if you want to really learn, let's say, shooting and shooting well, right? So then you have to go, you have to get a teacher, of course, or not, right? You have to go to the target and you have to start shooting and improving the shoot. You cannot buy these capabilities, or you cannot be, that capabilities cannot be passed on you. It's always yours. And it's a consequence of your mental thinking. How do you approach that? So how you approach the physical, that is your mental capability to do something, and how you do the physical is really the test for you.
Mhm.
But it's a 100% test how we're going to do that. So no matter what, when something becomes physical, becomes tangible, and becomes something that the person only can really make it. So the teacher cannot really give it to you. But I can give you 2 + 2. But I cannot give you the Olympic weightlifting. I cannot give you the skating, right? I cannot give it to you. Or even acting, right? You have to somehow get it into acting. You can talk a lot about, but still it's you when you start acting. So here is the situation. When you think about the books, that they don't have physical tests, there's nothing physical. What can happen?
Well, I know for me, I forget.
Yeah, okay, that's a good one. You forget. Why you forget?
Because it's not emotional. I'm not emotionally connected to it.
Right, it is knowledge only, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, okay, it's knowledge. There's no physical test and there is no physical application. So it's a kind of something that you can get it or you don't have to get it. But if you get it, you need to test it in the physical, right? Otherwise, it just becomes the memory, like history. Just memory, right? What happened when it happened.
Well,
Jersey,
yeah. Go
oh,
ahead, Leanne.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but can you see all of us right now? Can you put it on gallery view?
Yes?
Good. Can you tell us when you're ready? Because we have an announcement to make.
Right, I see you.
Can you see us all?
Yeah, I see you all.
Okay. Everybody ready?
Ready?
Happy. Unmute yourselves.
Body.
To
You.
Happy
Body. To you.
Awesome.
happy
Body.
dear
Jerzy.
Oh, wow. That's really cool.
Body.
to you.
Awesome. Oh, wow. That's very cool.
I love all your hats.
have
Look at these
vodka there?
hats.
What's
Look at
that?
Amy. Look at Amy. Look at Amy. Look at that. Did you like the words? Happy body to you?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
I was muted.
Look at Marson. He looks like a gambling guy person.
Hey guys, Martin, do you have vodka up there? What do you have there? Oh, what
Jersey,
is it?
how old are you now?
I have
Zhubruvka.
Zhubruvka.
All right, wow.
And thanks, Adela, for your she played for He's a Jolly Good Fellow. Okay, happy body to you today.
Fantastic, thank you guys.
Body Jersey.
Awesome.
Okay, coffee break.
Birthday.
That
No,
was
call it
good.
that.
So
Right.
my concentration hasn't really been that good up till now.
Oh, yeah, you drink too much vodka.
Yeah, we can start the session now.
Yeah. You know, the concentration depends on how we love things. So, you know, when we love things, you know, more, then we have a better concentration. And, you know, usually that situation is with ADD people that, or children, they are just really not concentrating because they just don't like what is in front of them. So I was kind of the kid like that, you know. I really loved math, chemistry, and everything about science. But history was something for me completely, you know, unnecessary in life. So I simply could read 3 times the same page and I would never remember. It was like a really amazing thing. It took a lot of effort for me to actually pass history or, you know, Polish or, you know, anything about, you know, like humanistics, you know, it's just like, was not me. And I didn't have passion for it, but I could study for 16 hours a month. And I would not study, you know, history, even for a minute or two. So, you know, it's like, so here is the situation that the passion really creates the possibility to, you know, to learn a lot and devote yourself to what you do. That's why really, you know, doing something that you love is important because, you know, you don't feel like time passes, and you know, you can do it forever. So you have to really find, you know, what you really love in life, and then do that. And that is a in a way simple thing, but you know, if you succeed finding something that you love, that's your passion, you are able to do it forever. It means like you are patient, like a saint. Right?
Patient, yes, but not saint.
Yeah, patient like, right? Saint would be a patient, right? You know, with the one that love people and is existing for people. That would be saint, right? That would be some kind of a human being that is devoted to goodness and, you know, completely true. So let's come back to the teaching again, the physical, and you know, when it comes to the philosophy is what? What kind of teaching is that? Physical or mental?
Pretty mental.
Mental, right. And it is really hard to test it, right? So we can learn and we can be passed on how not to be angry, right? And that doesn't mean that you will not be angry when the time comes. So it is very difficult way of teaching when it comes the mental is everything, and it stays in the mental.
What's interesting is we all have a physical response to anger, and we also have a physical response to love. So I guess
Yeah, you are all
I'm
physical, of
someone,
course. Our thoughts are physical. We are completely physical, so our thoughts is physical. Nothing is not physical, right? Our mind is physical. Our, whatever happens in us is physical. Everything is physical. There is no such thing as non-physical. So, so then, but there is something else that here happens with the mental, that the mental teaching can be passed, and the person, by the memory and everything what the person can get, is capable to understand everything, comprehend, and still not behave the way that he was taught. So let's say you are taught not to be angry, but the time when comes, you're angry. So it means that the whole thing, teaching doesn't match here. It's very difficult to teach something that becomes, in the mental, the right reaction to it. And it happens in the reaction. When it comes to the physical, then is something else happens. When you have the physical, then you engage to do something actually physically. And when you are, then the learning is always yours. It's not coming from the outside. So I'm really touching something very extremely important, is that we can teach people to think certain ways, to feel certain ways, but still they when it comes to actually express the feeling, they don't have to have it. So in the physical, we really can see it when somebody improves in figure skating, and what is exactly is, and the figure skater will always have this feeling that the figure skater learned that on his own or her own, and it's hers really, because it's very clear that she can do that. But in the mental, that's not true. So it can be that you are taught writing poetry, but you can never really become the poet, because in a way that the way you are taught, you don't have a chances to become the poet, because everything is given to you. So there is no you then. You cannot really arrive to this, all of this on your own. So there is no, it must be the same with music, that at a certain point that the one that plays music, it has to be something that the one that arrives at that music, and then the music is interpreted by that one. Acting must be the same thing, right? That you have words and you have a certain way, and then interpretation is based really on completely what you are in every cell of your body. If you were taught the right way, then you are able to become the character. And if you're not, that you cannot become the character.
But Jersey, I'm wondering if maybe I think I'm missing your point here, because I have this strong desire to talk about how anything we learn is physical. When we connect our mental ideas and philosophies and notions to how we are physically reacting to something or choosing not to react to something, isn't that when the integration occurs and we truly learn a mental idea or notion or philosophy? When I can stop myself from reacting with anger, even though I felt anger, and I can shut it off, isn't that a physical integration of that?
you can be told, something, right? Because when you link the physical, then it's a test. But if it's not linked to the physical, I mean, outside what you do, when you act, it becomes physical, right? But when you taught really acting without the physical, it's only completely mental. And that is extremely important how that teaching happens. So how you are taught is important, right? So if you are taught the way that you are not integrating that, and you are only taught to repeat like a monkey, then you will be the monkey when you are starting acting. You will never be able to really integrate what it means to be you and what it means to recreate the character by yourself without the teacher. Or whatever was projected on you, you didn't arrive to a certain way of acting on your own. You didn't discover that. You didn't have a chance because the teacher was all the time on you and gave you everything like on a platter. So that kind of a teaching, can create a monkey and can create cliche, right? Cliche is something that happens when we do something and somebody did that before. So we recognize in the arts cliche. So it means that somebody that does something doesn't come originally from the person. So when it comes to the happy body, I know it's really hard to comprehend, but 2 + 2 is 4. Focus on that, right? It never becomes physical, right? That never becomes physical. It's always mental. It's just simple knowledge, 2 + 2, 4. And then, but how you arrive to that is crucial, right? Because that, self-esteem is behind, and your thinking process is behind. So you're really strongly thinking about how much is that 2 + 2, 2 + 2. You are engaged. The student is engaged here in discovering that. But if you tell the student that 2 + 2 is 4, then in the student's brain is only memory, nothing else. The student is robbed from the journey to arrive that 2 + 2 is 4.
I'm detecting some independence in this scenario that we're talking about. Something that you mention quite often, that so if you're participating actively in learning anything physical or mental, you own it yourself, and it gives you that independence of learning. So it becomes more personal, and you can recognize your achievement.
You arrive on your own, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have a chance to become a master of something in your life. Origin of that, what you are learning. And you can create something in your life that is original. But if you are taught all the time to remember something after somebody said, that you only repeat something what somebody said, it didn't arrive. So you don't have origin, that you are not the origin of your words. You can only copy. So it's a very important, element here. We are talking about the control, right? Control yourself, control others, and helping others to control themselves, right? So what would be the teacher, right? What would be the best teacher? You said her off.
Yeah, she will let.
What would be the best teacher?
Joyce, you need to mute. I think that the best teacher is by example, so that you can instill that indirectly in others by, you know, your example.
And, you know, extremely patient, right? The teacher has to wait until the student gets it, until the students get into it. So it has to be a journey. I mean, do you remember when you said, when I said about the orange, you said, what's inside, right?
Well, only because I didn't hear that you told us not to say that.
But it's a good example, right?
Yeah.
Of giving people right away the answer, right?
Yes.
But we could talk about this for 15, 20 minutes and helping people to be on a journey to think about that and think about that. And maybe somebody would come to that. But even though if you don't arrive to the answer, it is really important to be on a journey, right? Because then we somehow integrate everything inside of us, and we remember exactly all the things, all the, you know, the journey, how we were thinking about it, how we arrived to it. We even remember when it happened. But when we have just only that somebody just give you the answer, boom, then you know, doesn't work, right? You know, it cannot be integrated.
You know, there's another example of that from the movie you suggested, We Watch An Ordinary Hero. The very last line of the movie, I felt, was the lesson, one of the most important lessons we can take away. When he asked his mother why she had never told him, she simply stated, because you never asked.
Yeah. Right.
And I thought, and it blew my mind. I mean, I've heard this before, but because I was taken along the journey of the movie, that statement had so much more impact on me. And I thought, this is so important to ask how a person lived their life.
Right. Yes. It is, right?
And if he had started the film with that, it would not have had the same impact.
Because movie is arriving, right? It has at least, you know, movie is something that is not like a novel. Novel helps people to be on a longer journey. A movie, because of the pictures, is wrestling with difficult tasks, because it's more given to, yeah? Because we have the pictures. In the novel, you create the pictures. So you're already having this capability of creating the world, you know, through the reading. But the movie is also a story. And that story, you know, how we arrive to certain things, you know, that story, when the movie is really great, the movie at the end arrives to such a, you know, insights. And when it's really done the right way, the insight is so powerful that we remember it. We remember certain lines. And we will never remember if it was given to us without the journey. And, you know, some movies also, they are, you know, more philosophically powerful than others. Selma, did you watch it?
You just told us to like 5 minutes ago.
Really? I sent it yesterday.
No, a couple hours ago. Well, for me, it was like a couple hours. Sorry.
Yeah, I have a sentence. Hey, Mr. Gregoric. Bruno Bettelheim had a statement. He said, we grow, we find meaning in our lives and security in ourselves by having solved problems on our own, not by having them solved for us by others.
Yeah.
I wonder if that goes to the answer to your question a little bit. In other words, we grow, we find meaning in our lives and security in ourselves by having solved problems on our own, not by having them solved for us by others. And I add, by having solved personal problems on our own as well. These are, complex psychological, existential, those are fancy terms, dilemmas, which require that we solve things. We don't just blame other people. We say, oh, Jersey didn't give us the right lesson. And okay, now I'm extrapolating. What do you think of that idea? Oy, that's Bruno Bettelheim.
Yeah, if you're left alone, that's true. But if you're not left alone, if the teacher is not patient and then you are in a teaching class or somewhere, right? So you're not left alone to think, to solve something on your own. Then the impatient teacher can prevent it for you. That actually you can arrive to the answer on your own. So when the labs are, let's say, in colleges, they're really physical things that we do. So for students to experience, because when it's come to the physical, you really have to experience. You have to do what you need to do, and how the interpretation is really comes to how you see things, and that's the ability for us to start thinking on our own, right? That's why we write essays, and that's why we paint, or we play music, because that's we are, right? It's impossible to be somebody else, right? And when the physical happens, it is very powerful because it's always you. But in the mental, how we arrive, it can be vague, and it can be that a teacher can really create in you the only copying idea, like a monkey. So by preventing you from giving you time to arrive to certain revelation insights on your own. So the teacher here is extremely important, right? So it is not teacher that gives you just the knowledge that 2 + 2 is 4. So how we teach is crucial, right?
I think that's one of the reasons that Stand and Deliver was so exceptional, because the teacher was less interested in the journey and more interested in the person, and took the time. And that's part of why other teachers didn't believe that his success was genuine, because they hadn't taken the time and hadn't seen the same results and couldn't imagine those results.
Yeah, that was a very powerful message, that movie, and that teacher gave us very powerful message, right? I mean, to the whole world, right? Because he gave us the message that the teacher counts. That was the message. The teacher counts, and everything what happens there is because of the teacher. So it is not that teaching is something that can be simply taught, and you go to the class, you have the knowledge and you teach, right? That's not that. There is something bigger than that. And because there is something bigger than that, the ability to teach, ability to wait for knowledge, ability to take students on a journey to their own discovery. That's the teaching. And that's what we don't teach, because we execute on the one thing. Do you know that 2 + 2 is 4? You can teach. Okay. Then we have what we have.
Can I add one fun story? My daughter teaches classes at Stanford, and one of her methods she calls the teddy bear method. And when a student asks her to solve a problem with her, she will tell them, first go and explain your problem to a teddy bear and work through what your question is, and see if your teddy bear can help you answer the question. And if they can't, then come back to me. And so the person is required to go and explain it essentially to themselves and figure out the question. And she says that usually the person doesn't come back. They just know the question.
That's fun. Well, Selma, I will read you something.
Before we start, Selma, I just wanted to add something about teaching. And, my perspective is that, the good teacher is a facilitator for learning, creates the right atmosphere and instills confidence in the student to do it themselves. And I think that's one of the crucial things, especially if you're trying to do something that, and when you're learning, you're trying to go above your existing knowledge in whether it's physical or mental. And often you're in a dark area where you don't know or you don't believe you can do it and how to get there. So the crucial thing is that the teacher is the guide, not the one who gives you the answer, but encourages you that you can, just like this example Karen gave, encourages you to find the answer yourself or within yourself.
Right. So with the knowledge, when the knowledge is passed on, right? So the teachers, because they don't have the physical tests, then they can pass this knowledge in whatever way, right? They don't know really, how to pass the message that would actually, the message would be, the answer to the message would be the independence and arrival to the answer on your own. So, because there is the physical test. So the physical test, like, the happy body, right? So there is a physical test. So your knowledge, everything, what you acquire and how you acquire, right? And then still you have to go to the physical and start really working with the physical. And once you work with the physical, then you can catch up with independence. You can catch up with how you do things, right? And even though, at that moment, the teachers are also the ones that could project too much on you, that you're not perfect or, you're not there and so on. And they can create this irritation in an athlete because the negativity and not focus on the positive way of teaching. So it can be the coach that say, oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. This is good, right? No, not that way. No, that way, right? So, right away shows, who you are. But the test is in the teaching. That's why it's fantastic that the happy body happens in the physical, because it's a test for all philosophy, whether you actually kind. It shows in how you approach to the happy body. Are you kind when you actually do that? Did you find kindness into the physical? Did you find patience into the physical? Did you find love into the physical, right? So did you find all these virtues into the physical? And then if you lock in, the physical blends with the mental. But if you don't have this physical, then you can arrive to the knowledge like a monkey without your own. And that's why teachers really don't care how you arrive. They only think about that you remember what you remember the certain things in math, and that's it, right? So they can easily walk into the no care, because there is no physical.
Jersey, could I quote something from Ben Zander, who's the conductor of the Boston Philharmonic Orchestra? Something he said, Stravinsky, the composer Stravinsky, said, "I don't want the sound of someone playing this passage. I want the sound of someone trying to play it."
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That exactly is telling us right away, you know, how he was teaching, right?
Mm.
He wanted to hear that somebody is
their own investment.
Trying to do it on his own, right?
Yeah.
He wanted to see the origin of the music created. Beautifully said.
I love that quote.
So closer and closer, you know, it happens our virtues are happening right to us, and that's why we take it so long, right? You know, it would be easy to explain no choice, no freedom, right, to somebody. He would say, hey, if you don't have a choice, you cannot be free. Somebody said, oh, I got it. Yeah, okay. Now we can go and have a drink. Right? You could never arrive to actually comprehend that no choice also means a slave. You wouldn't be able to arrive to that. It means also that we pretend sometimes that we are slaves and we don't even think that we do that. And we say that we didn't have a choice while we had a choice. So a lot of things can happen if you take the virtue mentally and not integrate that on your own. You don't have a journey, you know, to arrive there. And that's why somebody said that education is only education toward independence. There is no other education. It means one thing, that you have to arrive to the answer. And that we are creating people that they are capable of thinking.
You know, Jersey, you're really challenging me right now to be a better person by learning how to be a teacher. And I have been asked numerous times if I would like to teach, and I've always said no. I am not a teacher. I don't want to be a teacher. I don't like being a teacher. And what I'm hearing you say is that our responsibility is to be a teacher no matter what we're doing in our life, and that the manner in which we teach should be conducted in the way you've just outlined to help the world whenever we have that opportunity.
Yes, and it's also very beautiful when it happens. You know, when you're this kind of a teacher and you see that the person actually starts becoming independent thinker, that's really beautiful. And you know, when you're a teacher and you spend 1 hour or two on a student that doesn't know what's 2 + 2, and suddenly the student says 4, that's a really huge reward for the teacher. That kind. Not the kind that says, how much 2 + 2 is 4? Do you remember? Yeah. Okay, how much 2 + 2? 4. Okay, we move on. 2 + 3. Oh, okay, then what? We all completely missed the arrival. And when you arrive once to, you know, the 2 + 2 is 4, then you arrive to everything else. Then you become this, what Henry said, that you become this this self-solver, you know, self-originated to, you know, to create any way to get to the knowledge that you want, and you are the drive because you love it. You love that journey. and everybody does. We all love it. So for you, even when people ask you, when you really get into the teacher, that's an amazing, honorable thing to do in life. Very honorable, noble thing to do. If you do it the right way, why, you're creating a better world. Because you are creating better people, independent thinkers. And we need independent thinkers.
Well, and it doesn't necessarily mean that the arena is a classroom.
Oh, no, of course not.
It means every interaction you have with people.
Yes. So, when you go and talk to others and you boast yourself how smart you are, right? What does it mean?
Nothing. Who cares about that?
You're just treating people like monkeys and telling them how smart you are, right? So they remember what you said, and that's it. But when you have a conversation with people, and people take people on a journey always, right? Yeah, creating this journey toward self-arrival. And in every conversation, you can do that. Yes.
What do you think of the phrase, when the student is ready, the teacher appears?
Well, that's a very interesting thing, because that is, when you put a book, sometimes you buy the book and put on the shelf. And the book is 10 years there. And you never open it. But one day you walk through and you look and you see the book. You pull it out, start reading, and you don't put it down. You read it. And you took it the whole afternoon and you read it. Well, you became ready. It means that your journey needed 10 years to get into that teacher, right? But it's an always interaction between the teacher and the student, right? So you also, somehow need to show the teacher that you are ready too. But what will happen if the teacher is sensing that you're not ready?
They won't teach.
Yeah, you're gone, right? Yes, and with artists, it's so clear, right? You cannot pay the artist to work with you that you are simply not showing the interest that is enough for the teacher. The teacher has to be on a journey, and that this kind of artist is the pleasure is completely in the creating of arts. And if you show that you want to do it only for the money's sake or fame or whatever it is, you're gone. You're gone instantly. There's no artist that will do the teaching to you, no matter how much money you pay. You're gone. There's no joy for the artist to work with you. You're not ready. It means you're not ready. And if you're not ready, you're not ready. The art is something that is there's something that is so important for the artist, and the artist lives that way of life. It's the bread and knife and mama and papa and everything is inside of it. Is everything there. So that artist will never compromise on anybody that is not ready. That's why apprentices are, rarely that artists are okay with somebody that appears, and artists will take somebody and accept somebody to be around, not to teach, to be around. I have to show that you that is as important to you, this art, as to the artist. It's serious. It's always serious. With artists, it's extremely serious. Artists are, people that devoted their whole life to that. And it's beyond the money and beyond anything. That's hard. When art happens to people, they go with it. They don't see anything else. And they can be poor, but they really don't care, right? Look at, most artists are poor, but they really don't care. They have the art, and the art is something that gives them extreme pleasure, satisfaction, joy, happiness. Everything is there, and you cannot buy it. You cannot buy an artist. It's like you cannot buy a good person, right? You just cannot buy that thing. And even though, if the artist cannot survive from the art, they will do certain other things like teaching, and like poets usually become teachers, but they still create art. And the art is, they create this art forever. Like I write poetry, right? I don't, live out of poetry, but I write poetry because it's everything for me is inside of that. Art is serious. Art is all, right? Everything. And then I will be doing forever that thing until I die. And if you then kind of want to talk to me about art, right? Then there has to be some kind of that the student is ready, the teacher appears. It has to something happening there. If not, I'm gone, right? Because it is not really work. It is not. It is art. It is sharing something on a certain level. And in an ability to share, that's what it means in that saying. When student is ready, the teacher appears. That means that the students can share. Tea time. I forgot my tea time yesterday. All right, 5 minutes, guys.
How y'all doing?
It's hard to focus. I agree, Marchand. It's very hard to focus. And I don't even have the vodka.
I went off screen for a while just to enjoy the setup here.
What else is in your setup?
I have a beer as well.
Nice.
How does that work for your calorie count?
No, but it's alcohol free, so it's okay.
It's like decaf coffee. It's such a waste.
I
boring chaser.
Alcohol-free beer is so stupid. Really? And isn't it fattening too?
It's delicious.
Yeah. When I like alcohol-free beer.
Really? Is it fattening?
It depends on the beer, but sure, everything's kind of fat.
Because real beer
is fattening.
Really, and who's grown a lot? What did you mean?
Oh, I was talking about Ben Zander, that she quoted a conductor.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
He was really weak. He was pretty crazy. He actually got fired for molestation of the students. I didn't want to tell her that. She's got a crush on him, so I was like, okay, well. He was pretty out there. That was years ago.
So bad.
Hey, but it's true. I mean, I didn't want to say that in the chat, you know, God, he molested the kids. Anyway, he's a
You guys
very
have to go.
inspired. What?
I just wanted to say goodbye. I have to go.
Oh,
Okay, bye. Thanks for your costume and your tight background.
Amy, how was last night?
Stay safe, Amy.
Amy.
Oh yeah, the protests. There was still looting, not and there was some looting in my neighborhood, but it wasn't what you see on the news.
Okay.
There were small groups, and nobody set my house or my neighbors' houses on fire. It's so flammable where I live.
Yeah.
Can't even use my fireplace. So there's more for today. We'll see how it goes. But I was really nervous, so thank you for checking in for those of you who did. And
Yeah. So you're feeling relatively safe, or?
yeah,
Yeah,
I am. There's also clarity on who who they are, and
Yeah.
it's really not the protesters.
That's
So
right.
just keep that in mind, you guys. It's a
That's right.
tiny group.
Amy, I just wanted to tell you before you go, I've learned a lot from having you in the group. So even though you're not really into teaching, you're teaching just vicariously. So I appreciate it.
That is the greatest.
Here.
That made my day. I feel the same way about all you guys. I'm learning so much from you. I so value you all. And yeah, this group is really just so saved my psyche to meet with you every day. And I learned so much from all of you. You're all so eloquent. And not only that, you all do math way better than me. I was very impressed with you this week. I was like, I can't believe they're all getting this.
I know the math whizzes here.
Is there a danger of us all becoming codependent, do you think?
Not a bad thing.
I gotta
Another lesson. There'll be another class on no codependency.
Yeah, it's a virtue.
Did you ever hear the codependent country western song? It goes, "If you leave, can I come too?"
Love it.
I need to sign off early today too. Can someone post the homework on Facebook, please?
I think it's Selma.
Yeah, but who knows, right? Until we
Yeah.
get, we're gonna do, because I didn't get it yesterday, and I looked at the next week virtue, and he skipped to 6 weeks, week 6 on the virtues.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Well,
All
if we
right.
get-
We'll see y'all tomorrow.
We'll post it.
Yeah.
Bye. Thank you. Thanks for the great wig.
Thank you, Kellyanne, for the fun day, making it more fun and special.
It's so much
Bye,
fun.
everyone.
Bye.
I was so nervous, I forgot to put my mic on.
I know, I should have put unmute. Yeah, that was hilarious. I was like, unmute! Happy, unmute!
My big moment. Jeez.
I especially like the new words, happy body to you.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
Body to you. I know. I bet it sounds like it's happened to him before. I thought it was so original. Probably his wife sings it every birthday to him. He's
He probably
66
gets it
today.
every hour when he gets a new training session.
Yeah, there you go. Required singing. So he's 66 today.
Just a kid.
He is. So Gemini, they stay young forever.
No.
Here's a little baby face. Anyway, if you don't have to listen to that. But I did guess his sign. I guessed his sign before I knew it.
No.
I could probably do that with you guys too.
So you're a psychic as well.
Okay,
No.
knock yourself out, Leon.
With you?
Alistair? Hello?
No, I did guess with him though. Yeah, Joyce, today is Jersey's birthday, so we did a birthday song before you joined us.
Yeah, I just heard that. So sorry about that. I had company unexpectedly for lunch, and they stayed until they stayed. So
No, that's okay.
first gathering with social distancing, it was a little challenging to navigate.
Ah.
So.
Oh, really? So were you all 6 feet apart in the room?
Well, we were on my deck, and yeah, but had lunch, and how do you touch the dishes, and just little things to think about. So we have several in our house, and you just had to be aware of it. That's all. So
they've just opened. They've just opened the restaurants here in Paris, but only outside.
Yeah. I think the same is happening at the end of this week in my area. So I think some restaurants will open with only outdoor and social distancing. I think libraries are opening. So little by little.
Were you guys wearing masks today in your lunch?
Not on the deck. Not on the deck. When she came in to go to the bathroom, she wore a mask, and she actually had a face shield.
Oh yeah, I have one of those. I haven't worn it yet.
Yeah, interesting. She's about to study, though, to be a doctor. So she's very, very self-conscious and has elderly parents. And so, you got to do what you're comfortable with. So that's fine. But I'm sorry I missed it. So what happened? What'd you guys do?
I'm sorry. Wait, what? Who was that?
Olivia was trying to say something, I think.
That's okay. You can tell Joyce about the singing.
Look, nice, Marcin.
I know.
Very nice.
You know why I picked Marcin for Jersey? Because he's the only one who says Jersey's name right. He goes Jerzy or whatever. How do you say it?
Jerzy.
Jerzy. It's
Jerzy.
Jerzy. RZ is Z. So it's Jerzy.
So how do you know that? Do you speak Polish?
Yeah, I live in Poland. I'm in Warsaw.
I know you live in Poland, but you've got a British accent. Are you aware of that?
A little bit. Yeah. So yeah, the name actually translated into English is George.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not Jerry. You're just a George. He's not a Jerry. He's a George.
Oh. If you translate your first name into English, it's George, isn't it? Jerzy is George.
Yeah, I'm George. Yes.
Yeah.
Funny.
Saint George and the Dragon.
All right. So I have a question now. How would you teach then? After what we were talking about, how would you teach exercise 3-5? How would you teach yourself? How would you teach others? Thinking about, all what we talk about.
Can I have a go?
Yeah.
Well, I would demonstrate and teach 1-5, and then 2-5, and then 3-5. I would let them have a go themselves. So we'd have the first sequences to go through together, and then little by little, each sequence would be more independent.
So progressively, you would make it easy and went into more difficult, right? So
yeah, less telling and more discovering for the student.
Right. And if what kind of words you would like to hear from the person while you are teaching?
I would get them to describe their sensations in their body. So their balance, resistance, what they find easy, what they find difficult.
Right.
So sensations and the physicality.
And completely understanding of the movement, right? And ability to perform the movement. And if you didn't, what would you do?
If I didn't what?
if you didn't hear that, perfect understanding and confidence of doing this exercise, what would you do?
I would demonstrate and ask them to repeat what I'd shown them. And if that was too complex, I would break the movement up into different stages and again demonstrate and get them to follow.
Right, you would bring the person to the capabilities that the person can actually do, the physical, and gets the whole idea there, right? And once that happens, you could move on. So the confidence, the origin of, doing the exercise has to happen. So you have to be patient so much with people when they learn, and especially the physical, because that if they don't know how to do the physical, then you didn't teach, right? And if they are not origin of that exercise, then they will be always incompetent, right? And they will not be proud of themselves that they know how to do it.
I think I would also add that I would get them to try to use the power of the mind. And when they were resting or meditating afterwards or before, get them to imagine themselves doing the exercise successfully and joyfully.
Yeah, so that is another way to how to teach when people are, they can be learning something independently, right? So it's their learning, they go through the learning process. So definitely what we don't want to hear is that people still are not comfortable with, the exercise. So if we hear that, we have to go backward, like Martin said, have to go backward until we find the place where the person is capable to do it. And so the person can like it, and would bring the person there and begin there. The worst thing in life that you can do is you go ahead faster than the person can adapt to that, mentally and physically. And if you do that, then it means that you are not capable of teaching somebody that somebody can arrive to the knowledge and physical capability on his own. You're too fast. So you strain, right? What is it?
Yeah, I was going to say, I found it really useful when you were demonstrating the moves the other day, and you went from the incorrect position to the correct position, like, how you perceived like a person was doing it wrong, and then you corrected it, and you could see such a drastic change in your posture. It really kind of clicked in for me what I was doing wrong.
Yeah, it's important how to do, the right, and how to demonstrate, right? Because if you can demonstrate how to be old and how to age posture, that means that you are flexible. You actually can do that, right? So you have to be capable to make it happen. Okay, awesome. Any questions? Any insight?
I could just add a quick thing that I've been, teaching my husband the Happy Body. And what I've been doing is watching the video. We're just on sequence 1, watch the video. I try to be there. Sometimes our schedules don't work, so I can't be with him to spot, to see if he's lined up properly. But it's challenging because, I've been doing it on my own. and I know what I'm physically capable of, but his body's completely different from mine. And I'm not really a qualified coach. So, you know, he has a lot of shoulder problems, which I don't experience. I don't know what it feels like. So it is challenging to be coaching someone else and, you know, recognizing that they're, you know, he's the runner, so his legs are fine, you know, but he has issues with his lower back and his shoulders and his posture. You know, we did the photo so we could see the posture isn't quite what it could be. So, you know, it's hard to know what the modifications are. So, you know, constantly using the videos are very helpful for a reference point. But you really do need someone, and so he's videotaping himself now if I'm not there to see how it's working. But it is a real challenge.
Yeah, well, you know, it's a hard choice, right? Something that we want to do goodness, it was always hard. It's just easy to to tell people that 2 + 2 is 4. So here's I got from the movie Selma. I will tell you what I know to be true. This is the conversation between King's wife and another person. It helps me in times when I'm feeling unsure. I know that we are descendants of a mighty people who gave civilization to the world. People who survived the hulls of slave ships. Okay, lost it here. Coming back. Despite pressures and tortures unimaginable, they are in our bloodstream, pumping our hearts every second. They are prepared, they've prepared you. You are already prepared. And Michael, the Malcolm X, you know, sayings, I have no army behind me anymore. I have myself and the truth. That is all I stand on today. So you see, when I think about Poland and 100 years of Poland, 1918, and the Polish army is created from underground after 123 years being beaten down, being tortured. People survived this 123 years and they came out from underground and claimed themselves back as a country. Then
the country was non-existent.
Not existence for 123 years, taken by three powers and beaten down. So after 123 years, culture survives and culture produces the army. And between Germany and Russia, this army is present. And people chase the Russian army back, and the First World War ends. And after that, we have Poland until 1939. Germans come, create a Holocaust in Poland. Meantime, Russians have a pact with Hitler. Russians capture the whole Polish army, torture and murder 30,000 officers, and says that the Germans did that. Then the end of war is coming, 44. Russians are coming to Poland. then what they do is they wait on Wisła while the underground army try to free Warsaw from Germans. Because the Russians would face the Polish underground army, and they wanted the communism in Poland. So they stopped and waited until Germans will really finish with the underground army. For some months, they just watched. Then they came to Poland. And until Stalin died in 1953, they tortured thousands of people, thousands in Poland. Underground army almost stopped existing and died through tortures and buried them in somewhere in forests where nobody knew. 8 years of torture. Then after 1953, there were some marches and some, resistance and trying to resist and trying to say something. Peaceful marches. 1968, helicopters started shooting to people walking peacefully. 1973, same thing. 1980, the first time that retaliation didn't happen the same way. 1981, Jaruzelski take the whole Solidarity and take them away, right? It means he puts into jails thousands of people. We lose the leaders, but they are released after. They are not killed. Underground is again for 8 years. 1989, Solidarity comes from underground again, takes over the government and frees the whole Europe from communism, from Russian communism. During this whole time, there is no violence. The violence is done only on people. It's complete adaptation to the non-violent resistance in Poland. And I remember the situation when in churches, people try to, create violence. They were spotted very fast and were not able to, succeed. "44 years. I mean, tortures on daily basis. And even though these people were able to, to never be violent, and like, I just read you from Selma. These people are in our bloodstream. Who we are. We are because these people happen. And we are prepared, and we are ready. And we are good. And we don't have to be violent. People are power. Very powerful. If people get together in a non-violent way, they can be so powerful, like nothing happened. All right, guys. Thank you for today. I'll see you tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. And we'll write the I think from I understand to I think.
Look at Marcin. Look at Marcin.
Who?
Can you see Marcin?
Oh, Marcin. Yeah, well, let me see. What do you have up there? Let me see.
It has a
Oh,
cake.
okay. That's pretty good.
He has a cake.
Okay, happy birthday, Jersey.
Yeah.
I'll send it to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy birthday. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
Happy birthday. Lovely
you.
to see everyone.
Bye, Jeze.
See you tomorrow.
Happy birthday, Jersey.
Thank
100 lat. 100 lat.
Hey.
100 lat, right?
Hey, this is Melanie.
That
I wanted
happy
to
birthday in Polish, Solat.
100 years. So it's 100 lat when we drink vodka and say 100 lat, right? You know, so in a way we say it so you could live 100 lat. So the wish is live 100 lat. That's kind
So
of,
it's like cheers or
yeah, it's like cheers, but we say 100 lat.
so you don't only say it on a birthday, you say it whenever you drink or celebrate.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Nice. Solat.
100 lat. It's a kind of healthy way of drinking vodka.
Yeah, hey, I love vodka. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, guys.
Hey, Jersey. I wanted to tell you that, this is Melanie. I wanted to tell you that it's my daughter's 15th birthday today, too. So.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, happy birthday. She's Gemini.
Yeah.
All right, so she must be very kind of two people in one head.
Yep.
So it's hard to handle her, right?
It's very interesting.
Smart?
I would say it's very interesting and, yeah, a mystery.
Yeah. You can never be bored, right, with her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's the Geminis, yes. I am a double Gemini, so my moon and my sun is in Gemini. So I'm 4 people, so completely messed up.
Wow.
But you know, like I never said, with Jersey, you can never be bored.
That's great. You're a great person.
Thank
And
you.
she is too.
Yeah.
Have a happy day.
Thank you too. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.